Bitcoin to $1 million? How? Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'll be sharing with you my Bitcoin price projection, how to determine Bitcoin value, and Bitcoin value explained. Make sure you stick around till the end of the video because I'll be breaking down step by step on my Bitcoin price projection. Social Capital CEO and former Facebook executive Chamath Palihapitiya believes that the price of Bitcoin can go all the way to $1 million. Here's a clip on Chamath Palihapitiya on Bitcoin.
So we've seen the first few chapters of this, and now we have to go through this great unwind. Right, when all this liquidity now, what happens?
We'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens. And so all I'm saying is to have the ability to hedge that out in a way that isn't fundamentally correlated to the people and the infrastructure that made those decisions that we were not a part of fundamentally, I think is a smart thing.
But the point is, if you haven't jumped on this bus or train or whatever vehicle you want to describe it as, has it left the station?
No. So here's what I would say. The same way that I said in 2013, put 1% of your net worth into Bitcoin, I will put myself out there today. I think this thing is $100,000 a coin, probably in the next 3 to 4 years. And I think it is, in the next 20 years, $1 million a coin.
Right now, as of the filming of this video, Bitcoin's current price is around $66,000. So with a price target of $1 million, there is still significant upside potential for Bitcoin. We'll first take a look at a quick overview of what is Bitcoin. Bitcoin is invented back in 2008 by a person by the name of Satoshi Nakamoto. And Bitcoin is a decentralized digital currency, and it works on blockchain technology. And another thing to pay attention to Bitcoin is that it has a limited supply, 21 million Bitcoin in total. To understand Bitcoin, we need to understand the differences between Bitcoin and currency. So currency is defined as a promissory coin or note which is presented in the form of money, while Bitcoin, a form of cryptocurrency, is a digital currency in which transactions are verified and records by a decentralized system rather than by a centralized authority. These are the similarities between Bitcoin and currency. For currency and Bitcoin, both can be used for payments and store of value. The second similarity between the two is that both currency and Bitcoin's value depends on the trust of consumers. Both Bitcoin and currency have value because consumers value them. In other words, both currency and Bitcoin don't have intrinsic value. Next, we'll take a look at the differences between Bitcoin and currency. For currency, it is issued by central banks and governments. But for Bitcoin, it's a bit different. Bitcoin is distributed through a process called mining and is not controlled by any centralized authority. And for the supply, technically there are no limits for currency. We see governments around the world printing a lot of money, so technically there are no limit to the supply of currency. However, for Bitcoin, there is a limited supply of Bitcoin, and the total supply for Bitcoin amounts to 21 million. So those are some of the similarities and differences between Bitcoin and currency. Bitcoin is actually very similar to currency. Both are backed by consumer trust rather than intrinsic value. And the reason why both Bitcoin and currency have value right now is because consumers choose to trust them, and that is why they have value. If Bitcoin doesn't have an intrinsic value, how do we then value Bitcoin? A quick disclaimer here. There are many ways to value Bitcoin. However, in this video, I'll be sharing with you my simplified version of how I value Bitcoin. But take note, I also include a lot of assumptions when valuing Bitcoin. And these assumptions might not hold in real life. Okay, with that quick disclaimer out of the way, I believe that the best way to value Bitcoin is through supply and demand. So the assumption that I'll be making is that Bitcoin will not replace currency, but act as an alternative form of currency or storeholder of value. I have a video over here sharing why I believe that Bitcoin will not replace currency. You can check that video out after watching this video. And that is the first assumption that I'll be making, that Bitcoin will act as an alternative form of currency or storeholder of value, and it will not replace currency totally. In other words, Bitcoin is more similar to gold than currency. Okay, taking a look at this article here, it mentions that the worldwide amount of money has been valued at around $215 trillion. And here we are going to make another assumption. We are going to assume that the money in the derivatives market, which includes stocks, bonds, commodities, currencies, and index rates, will stay in the market. We won't be including them in the worldwide amount of money. So excluding those figures, the worldwide amount of money has been valued at around $215 trillion. And if we take a look at the value of all of the gold in the world, based on the current gold spot price of around $1,700, the total value of all of the gold in the world stands at around $8.9 trillion. Earlier on, I stated that Bitcoin is more similar to gold than currency. Both act as an alternative form of currency and a storeholder of value rather than replacing currency. With that said, let's calculate gold as a percentage of the total amount of money in the world. We'll take $8.9 trillion, which is the total value of all of the gold in the world, divided by $215 trillion, which is the value of the total amount of money in the world. And that will give us 4.14%. And I'll make another assumption here, that 10% of the total amount of money is allocated to Bitcoin. So why does Bitcoin achieve a higher allocation of the total amount of money in the world as compared to gold? Some reasons include that Bitcoin can be moved around more conveniently than gold. Bitcoin is also easier to accept as a form of payment, so a simple assumption that I'll be making is that 10% of the total amount of money in the world is allocated to Bitcoin. That will give the total value of Bitcoin to be around $21.5 trillion. And we derive that number by taking 10% multiplied by $215 trillion, which is the total amount of money in the world. So the total value of Bitcoin is around $21.5 trillion. Currently, as of the filming of this video, around 18.5 million Bitcoin have been mined already. And I think I didn't mention it earlier before, but the 10% allocation of the total amount of money into Bitcoin is a 2025 projection. And according to an article by MarketWatch, by 2025, over 20 million Bitcoin will be in circulation. And to calculate the value of one Bitcoin, we take the total value of Bitcoin that is projected in 2025 to be around $21.5 trillion divided by the total amount of Bitcoin in circulation in 2025, which is around 20 million. And that will give us $1,075,000. Right, so the value of Bitcoin based on these projections is projected to be around $1,075,000 per Bitcoin. Maybe I'm too optimistic and that my estimates and projections are not conservative enough. Say that Bitcoin doesn't achieve the 10% allocation in 2025, but instead achieve the allocation even further down the road, be it in 2030, 2035, or even 2040. But the important point is this, that the projection for the value of one Bitcoin can actually reach to $1 million. And don't just take my word for it. Even Social Capital CEO Chamath Palihapitiya has already made the case for a $1 million Bitcoin price. This is definitely one of the more controversial topics that I shared in my videos. Let me know what are your thoughts down in the comment section below. If you have learned something from this video, smash that like button because it will really help the channel grow and allow me to produce more content such as this. And if you haven't already subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe to this channel because each week I release new videos about investing, trading, and the stock market. I'll see you in those other videos to your financial success.